Welcome everyone. This video will provide an overview to working on the carburettors on my 1949 AC 2 litre. Be warned that I'll be delving into some theory as it helps to understand how things work before we start tinkering with them. I did a full overhaul on mine way back in 1990. Unfortunately, the head gasket blew about 2 days later, and that was the last time my engine ran. I've been advised that my planned engine upgrades would benefit from a carburettor upgrade. That is, an increase from the current 1 1/8 inch carbs to 1 1/4 inch, as fitted to many AC Aces. As far as I can tell, the two types share most components, including dashpot, piston, jet and float chamber, so most original parts could be retained. I might wait until the car is on the road again and then upgrade and see how economy and power compare. Years ago I argued with my lecturer, who did not understand how an SU Carburettor works, even though he was teaching us how carburettors work. The mind boggles. He made the classic rookie mistake. Take a look at how the piston moves, bringing with it the metering needle. The needle is tapered so it opens up the fuel jet as it rises. The common mistake is to assume that this is all that controls the amount of fuel issuing from the jet. It also depends on how fast the air is travelling past the jet, which creates a pressure difference that makes the fuel move. With no air movement, there is no fuel coming out. As the airspeed increases, the fuel quantity increases at a greater rate, and so at high power demands the tendency is for the mixture to become richer. To counteract this and keep mixture constant, other types of carburettor might have additional compensating jets or other systems. The SU Carb has the sliding piston, which can restrict the mass of air entering the engine when the piston is low. Although the needle is also restricting the jet, the low position of the piston will tend to increase the airspeed for a given engine speed. There is a carburettor issue that is almost universally misunderstood in our motoring hobby, despite the fact that my favourite engineer, Harry Ricardo, explained it back in the 1920s. Imagine the engine running with a closed throttle. The pressure in the manifold will be very low, resulting in the manifold walls being dry. All or most of the fuel will be vapour. If the throttle is suddenly opened, the pressure in the manifold will rise and the fuel vapour will condense all over the inside of the manifold, starving the engine of fuel for a brief moment. This is the real reason why carburettors need to give a split second of very rich mixture when the throttle is flicked open. My old lecturer claimed SU carbs don't do this. Everyone should roll their eyes at this point. Some carb designs, such as Solex, have a separate acceleration jet and a pump within the carb. The SU carburettor achieves it because it takes a finite amount of time for the piston to rise up. That is partly its inertia, and also any damping built into its mechanism. For that split second while the piston is still near the bottom, it restricts the mass of air entering, but the very high speed of the air passing underneath it draws out a lot of fuel, regardless of the fact that the needle is limiting the opening of the jet. I mentioned damping. If you have worked on SU carbs before, you'll be familiar with the damping plunger normally found under the cap on the dashpot. But, as you can see here, none such exists on the AC. These are sometimes referred to as undamped, but there is a small degree of damping. In this type of SU, you should have a very small quantity of SAE 20 oil in there. This is partly to lubricate the guide, but it also forms an airtight seal. When the piston lifts up, air above the guide rod is forced out through a tiny hole in the brass cap. So why do most SUs have more damping? Most SUs feed manifolds leading to 3 or 4 cylinders. Compare them to the AC, where each carb feeds 2 cylinders and the inlets in the head are Siamese together. Rather than a manifold, in the literal sense of many folds, it has a short pipe. When that scenario of flicking open the throttle occurs, there is only a small surface area of inlet pipe for the condensing fuel to cover, and there are no bends. Fuel tends to accumulate on the inside of bends, which is why old manifold designs have sharp corners to minimise this effect. We can learn more about how SU carbs work by taking things apart. The AC's carburettor model is HV2 Thermo. Thermo refers to the cold start device that many Jaguar owners will be familiar with. The purpose of the float chamber is to keep the fuel level in the jet constant. The volume of fuel in the chamber is much greater than in the jet, so the level can correct itself very fast. As you can see, the chamber has a mechanism not unlike a toilet cistern, a brass float which actuates a shut-off valve via a lever. There are a few potential problems. The float, which is soldered brass, can leak and sink, allowing fuel to spray out uncontrolled. I don't know if such floats can be repaired, but it is usual to replace them. If the chambers are completely empty for any reason, the valve can easily jam open, again allowing fuel to spray over the engine when you turn on the ignition. The easy solution is to place a few washers under the float so that it can't drop all the way down. You can check that the level in the chamber will be correct by placing a 3/8 inch or 9.5mm drill across the lid and resting the arched part of the lever over it. I know this drill is too small, but it was to hand for making the video. The lever should touch as the valve closes, noting that the more modern valve now fitted here is spring loaded, so it should touch without compressing the spring. I noticed that there are no gaskets on my float chambers before I overhauled them, and this will affect the fuel level. I'll have to see how these gaskets cope with modern fuel. Maybe new ones could be made from Viton rubber of the correct thickness. I fitted new brass throttle spindles as well as the discs. I found that there was no noticeable wear in the spindle holes. It is best to occasionally oil the spindles. When removing the dash pot, make a mark so that it will go back on the same way around. The metering needles will be renewed as part of an overhaul, or if they get bent, handle with care. These are held in the pistons with a grub screw. The shoulder of the needle is supposed to be level with the base of the piston. Someone in my hometown had a 1935 AC years ago. He said he repositioned the needles slightly lower because the carbs ran too rich at their weakest adjustment. My carbs always ran weak at their richest adjustment, although that might have been due to the lack of float chamber gasket, but that is why I had set these needles further up. You can test fit the piston in its dash pot. It should not touch the sides of the dash pot. I vaguely recall using metal polish on the edge of the piston to remove a tiny amount of material back in the 80s. The jet assembly is a bit simpler than on most SU carburettors because there is no cold start adjustment. There is a mixture adjustment screw at the bottom, normally covered by a cap. The jet is spring loaded and held at each end by brass bearings with a cork seal at the top. The lower bearing goes inside the large hex screw with its sealing ring and cork seal. When installing the jet assembly, you have to centre it. As you tighten the large mounting screw, you need to keep lifting and dropping the piston, allowing the needle to centre the jet. As you lift the piston, carefully feel for any drag, indicating that the needle is binding in the jet. In fact, it's best to use a piece of stiff wire to lift the piston to give a more sensitive feel. There is some concern that the cork sealing washers might not last long as modern fuel. The SU company have produced a new design of jet assembly with suitable seals, but unfortunately you do have to renew the entire assembly. I'm still mulling over whether to upgrade mine or wait and see how the little used seals I fitted in 1990 cope. And next, that cute little cold start device, known by SU as an automatic enrichment carburettor. When the engine is cold, the solenoid is energized, which opens a valve to the inlet balance pipe. This connects the system to the vacuum in the inlet pipes. That vacuum pulls the needle valve down, minimizing the extra fuel being fed into the inlets. If the vacuum reduces, you will see the top of the needle rise and even more fuel goes straight into the inlet pipes. This helps to stop the engine from stalling just after a cold start. It also helps when accelerating. It doesn't help one's fuel economy. I only had to renew the fibre washers on this device and nothing more. I will return to this topic when I give my carbs a clean up ready for use and then tune them and maybe upgrade them. To end with, here are my air filters after I repainted them. The internal mesh has to be dipped in oil so that dirt will stick to it. An eBay seller supplied the labels. Thanks for watching.